Welcome back, dear friends. In the previous trainings, we talked about the forest ecosystem, the benefits and gains they bring to us, and the influence they have on our well-being and probably welfare. However, this relationship between us and the forest is not one-sided. We also affect the state of the natural resources, ecosystems in the forest. And usually, unfortunately, this effect is not so positive. In fact, forests all over the world are threatened by the expanding human population and the pressure that population affects on the natural environment, including the forest. Let's explore how we humans influence the forest and what can we do about it. The most common way in which we use natural resources in the forest is the direct consumption of these resources. If you recall the total economic value, this is related to the direct use value in the framework. What we commonly use is timber, and we build houses with it, we burn it to gain heat energy, we sell it to some construction or furniture company, and so on. In order to gain this timber, we need to cut the trees. And if it is done sustainably, then there is no damage to the forest ecosystem. The trouble starts when we invade into a natural pristine forest and start cutting its trees with heavy machinery without considering the forestry growth rates, the impact we have on the forest ecosystem, on the biodiversity, and so on. This usually happens because of the company's rush for profits, because of unsustainable practices of forest management, because of wrong economic incentives, inefficient legislation, and so on. The consequences of that can be the degradation of the forest ecosystem, loss of its biodiversity, and total disruption of the provisioning of its ecosystem services. Not only trees are vulnerable to human consumption, also medicinal plants, berries, mushrooms, and other non-timber products in the forest can be, let's say, a victim of unsustainable human desires. So people can pick them and use them for their purposes, and if these species are in the category of vulnerable or endangered, then their unsustainable collection can be a real damage to the natural ecosystem in the forest. Uncontrollable hunting and poaching are other harmful human interventions into the forest ecosystem. If they affect vulnerable and endangered species of animals in the forest, then this can make a serious blow to the stability of the natural environment and biodiversity in the forest. For example, in the Kodru forest, there are about 100 cases of illegal logging and poaching registered every year. And these are only official numbers. Waste pollution is another common enemy of forest ecosystems. Certainly the recreational value of forests attracts people to come to forests, visit them, enjoy walking in the woods, have a picnic around this beauty of trees, leaves, and so on. However, if people are not used to taking their trash with them and clean up the space around them, then what is left after this recreational enjoyment are piles of solids and organic waste that pollute the environment. One can find there usually packaging waste like plastic bottles, food containers, and some food waste. However, the consequences of this pollution is not only mere displeasure of seeing trash sites all over the forest. Waste actually penetrates into the soil and contaminates both the soil and groundwater, thus undermining the fertility of the soil and damaging the natural processes that happen in the soil. Also, animals can mix up various waste items for food and thus can swallow them and die from indigestion of these waste items. Therefore, it is very important to leave the picnic sites or places as clean as possible and take all the trash with you and dispose it into proper waste management facilities. Finally, yet importantly, the mere disturbance of logging machinery, of noisy tourists, of road traffic nearby can be damaging to the stability of the natural ecosystem. Animals disturbed by all these noises can move to other locations. However, forest has its limits, so if the disturbance of people, of machinery is present all over the forest, then animals have nowhere to go and remain suffering from all the noise pollution produced by humans. Certainly, there are many other ways in which we affect forest ecosystems, both directly and indirectly. One can mention here deforestation and soil degradation due to changing land use, like conversion of forests into agricultural lands, forest fires, consequences of climate change, and many other. It seems that while forests give us all the benefits and gains practically for free, we return the favor by degrading and destroying them. At this point, you may ask, so if we gain so much from the forests as the economic valuation research suggests, then why do we continue to pollute, to damage and to destroy forest ecosystems? And one more interesting question to ask is if we know so much about the benefits and value of forest ecosystems to us, to our well-being, then how can we use it to reverse the trend and to minimize the negative effects of human intervention on forests? These are very interesting questions, and we will reflect upon them in the upcoming training in the course. See you there!